Hello, my name is Dr. Jessie Blackburn, and welcome to the Summer 2015 English 2001. This is Introduction to Writing Across the Curriculum, and I'll be teaching this section online. If you are watching this podcast, then you are enrolled in that section. I'd like to start out by introducing you to the course, and we'll do that today through two different podcasts. One will detail the course objectives, the course description, and the general schedule that we'll be keeping as far as what kinds of assignments we'll work through and the expected pace for the next several weeks together. The second podcast, though, will take a much closer look at the weekly and daily activities that we'll be doing. You'll want to refer back to this first podcast if you have questions that are specific to the course objectives, course requirements, course policies and procedures, things like that. And then you'll want to use the second podcast to refer to the daily activities that we'll be doing, as well as the weekly breakdowns of our modules. So, just to remind you, I'm Jessie Blackburn. I will be holding virtual office hours, as you'll see here at the top of the syllabus, and also on our As You Learn site, on Mondays and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So just Monday through Thursday from 10 to 11. I'll be holding those hours through Skype, email, or phone. I've provided my Skype contact here. You can see me right there at jessica.blackburn8. And my cell number is right here, 814-366-3443. Don't worry, you're welcome to call me. I do ask, though, that students not call after 5 p.m. My email is blackburnjb@appstate.edu. I might also say that I would ask that you not call before 9 a.m. as well. All right, so then the required course texts. So we'll be using Writing About Writing as our textbook this summer. That's by Wardle and Downs. You can rent that through the App State bookstore. You can also pick up the second required text through the bookstore, which is called Writer's Help. That's an online handbook. You also will want full access to a PC or a Mac and a working internet connection, as well as the Microsoft Office suite and other various softwares listed here, such as Adobe, Skype, etc. Just so that you are aware, there is a prerequisite for this course. Successful completion of English 1000 and 30 hours of course credit. That's what's required in order to enroll in English 2001. If you are not sure about whether or not you're eligible for this course, please contact Appalachian State's Registrar's Office. Right here is the course description for Introduction to Writing Across the Curriculum. I'm not going to read this word for word for you. I'm going to ask that you do that on your own as you move through the course guide and you familiarize yourself with the course. But I do want to draw your attention to the course description starting right here. And I'm right here. English 2001 focuses on rhetorical, disciplinary, and genre awareness and research methods and documentation, emphasizing how expectations change across a wide range of academic contexts so that students may more readily transfer skills across contexts. Students learn how to analyze and write about text rhetorically and critically, and use different methods of documentation and other conventions appropriate to different academic disciplines. Students leave this course as well-prepared writers with the rhetorical sensitivity to meet varied writing situations within academic and professional settings. And that's it. That's exactly the goal of English 2001. We're here to help you, at this point, sort of situate yourself more centrally in your major and your discipline, and with a glance towards the field and what kinds of writing you will be expected to do in your writing intensive courses in your major, as well as once you enter into the professional world of your field. So, these are the goals and outcomes for English 2001. These are pretty central to everything we'll be doing this summer. In fact, the final portfolio, which will be essentially your final exam, is due at the very end, the last day of the course. And on that day, you will submit an electronic portfolio that will include rough drafts, revised drafts, free writing exercises, peer responses, basically your entire writing process for the summer. But you'll also include in that portfolio a reflective cover letter in which you actually reflect on and discuss your writing process, your revisions, things like that. But you'll also want to connect each text or draft or assignment back to these goals and outcomes. So these are listed here on the syllabus, and they will also be referred to at various points throughout the semester. You'll want to become pretty familiar with these. Goal 1 then is that students demonstrate the goals and outcomes of English 1000 in increasingly complex rhetorical situations. So you'll be asked to do the things that you did in English 1000, but with a little bit more savvy, and again with that eye toward the rhetorical situations that you'll find yourself in as you write through your major and into your field. Goal 2 is that students exhibit increasing disciplinary awareness. And this is where we ask you to become familiar with what it means to be a major in your major. And what sorts of expectations would your field have of you as a writer? And we'll talk more about that as we get deeper into the various genres that are specific to certain disciplines, and as we begin to look at rhetorical analysis within certain fields. Goal 3 is that students apply disciplinary awareness to the creation of their own texts across various genres and or media. So where we ask you to think deeply and read critically about writing in your field, we also ask you to practice writing for your field, and that you apply what you understand about writing in your field to those texts. Goal 4 is that students develop metacognition of academic writing. And metacognition is the ability to sort of think outside oneself or above oneself and to reflect. So you can see here that the central core to Goal 4 then is that you reflect on disciplinary differences and that you reflect on writing and its place within disciplinary conversations. And every assignment we do this semester is geared toward these goals. So you'll hear this language and these terms used quite a bit, and we'll unpack those together. If you find yourself thinking, I don't really know what disciplinary difference is, or I'm not really sure what rhetorical analysis means, that's why you're taking this course. So don't worry, we'll get there together. And then lastly, Goal 5 asks that students develop information literacy strategies and skills that transfer across the curriculum. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a semester-ending portfolio to demonstrate those course that you've achieved or you have fulfilled those course goals and outcomes. And that portfolio is required, so please do bear that in mind. Just to see how the grade breakdown works then, activities are broken down into weekly work, which is 30% of your final course grade, draft work and conferencing, which is 30% of your course grade, and your e-portfolio, which is 40% of your course grade. The weekly work then is your reading response, and that is where I will post to As You Learn a prompt that asks you to write a response to something that you've been assigned to read out of Writing About Writing, or it might be another source. I might put something up, maybe a YouTube video or some additional ancillary text. In any case, there will be a post or a prompt posted, and you'll be asked to write your response and post it to our weekly discussion forum. And you will also be asked to do peer response of your peers' drafts. So as we get through each major assignment, you will be asked to post a rough draft online, and you will then be asked to peer review a peer's draft. That's a part of your weekly work. The discussion forum then asks that you think, as you begin to read and respond to that reading, that you provide a very thoughtfully responded to free writing, I'm going to back up. It asks that you thoughtfully respond to 2 free writing prompts and use concrete examples of your ideas. It also asks that you demonstrate an understanding of the weekly reading and online media. The discussion forum then is where you thoughtfully respond to one peer's response in the discussion forum in 1 paragraph and demonstrate an understanding of others' posts and extended discussion by building on other comments. I ask that you use specific examples to illustrate ideas and contribute to discussion with clear, concise, and accessible comments. Draft work, then, is where you'll be required to write 6 total drafts or course documents. This semester has a very special emphasis on process, revision, critical analysis, multiple drafts, and interdisciplinary scholarship. So to get to that, I'm going to ask that you upload your drafts in the assignment link for every weekly module, and each draft is due weekly. So you will have a rough draft due by midnight on Wednesday, so that you can spend Thursday reading a peer's draft and posting your peer feedback to that draft. That first deadline does not come until week 2, but once we start week 2, you'll notice that Wednesday of week 2 you have a rough draft of a major assignment due, so that the next day you can evaluate a peer. The following week, by Wednesday at midnight, you have a rough draft of a major assignment due so that you can evaluate a peer the next day. The following week, you have a rough draft due so that you can spend Thursday evaluating a peer's draft. So you kind of get the rhythm going as we get deeper in. There are 3 major writing assignments. There's the literacy narrative, the writing in your disciplines assignment, and the rhetorical analysis. Of course, as I stated earlier, the major progress that you're aiming toward as we get deeper into this term is that e-portfolio, or that final portfolio. So you will write a rough draft, revise that of the literacy narrative, write a rough draft of the writing in your disciplines paper, revise that, write a rough draft of a rhetorical analysis, revise that, and then you'll have those weekly writing prompts that you will participate in response to the readings, as well as providing peer feedback to your peers on their rough drafts. And that's the kind of material that I'll look for in your final portfolio. Please bear in mind that in order to pass English 2001, every student at Appalachian State is required to submit that portfolio. All right. Now, the major assignments that we're going to be doing in this class are the literacy narrative. You can see that right here on the syllabus. And I just want you to understand how to use your syllabus. So, composition project number 1, you have the literacy narrative. It describes the assignment for you. It tells you what the learning objectives of that assignment are. It tells you what is expected in draft 1. See? And then it tells you how I'll be grading draft 1. It tells you what is expected in that revised draft. And it stipulates right here that that revised draft is due in your final e-portfolio. It also shows you how I'll be grading that revised draft in your portfolio. And then you see where the second major assignment comes up, and that's the writing in your disciplines paper. You see right here the same exact pattern. Here's the assignment's learning objectives. Here's what's expected in draft 1. All the details, how long the paper should be, how to format it, what sorts of questions I would like to see you explore, things like that. And then what criteria I will be using to assess that first draft. You can see right here, then it tells you how to go about revising for that final portfolio and what I'll be looking for that in the revised draft 2 of the writing in your discipline paper. And then, of course, here we go into the rhetorical analysis, the last major writing assignment of the term. It tells you exactly what the learning outcomes are for the rhetorical analysis, what's expected out of draft 1, what the grading criteria will be of draft 1, how to go about revising that draft for draft 2 that will be submitted in your final portfolio, and how I'll be assessing that as I move through your portfolio. And then you'll see right here the e-portfolio. Tells you right here what's expected in the portfolio, what should be included in it, how to format it, how to write that reflective cover letter that I talked to you about earlier here in this podcast. And obviously we'll be going over every one of these assignments in detail. Each assignment will have its own podcast. But I want you to understand how to use your course guide. If you keep going, then you see here the e-learning portfolio objectives, or the learning objectives for the e-portfolio, I should say. Here's what grading criteria will be used to assess that portfolio. So there's a rhythm to this course, and this, I want you to understand how the course guide is laid out so that you know how to use it. So at the very beginning, I explain what is this course, how the course is graded, what the grade weights are, and then I show you what each major assignment is for the semester and what the rhythm is for that. So when is the rough draft due? How do you peer edit that rough draft? When is the revised draft due? How will that rough draft and that revised draft be evaluated? I want to point out that we have at the bottom of, this is more like the middle section of the syllabus then, we have the course modules weekly, and you'll see week 1 through all the way down through week 5. I'm going to go over that next in the next podcast, and I'm also going to explain to you how the peer review guidelines get used. So in those weekly peer reviews that you will provide to your peers based on their rough drafts, you will use this peer review guideline as your template, and I'll talk more about that in the next podcast.